Revealed. The incredible story of a chef who played the violin and changed her life forever. Maria stood behind the counter of her family diner, the heart of Elmwood, where the smell of fresh biscuits and gravy swirled in the air, mixing with the laughter of regulars. Every morning felt like a hug. The diner was filled with familiar faces, and those familiar faces carried the weight of her dreams and nightmares. With every plate she served, her dreams of a better future for her children flickered brightly, but so did the shadows of mounting bills that nipped at her heels. At 38, it felt like a race against time, and Maria was running a marathon with no end in sight. Yet when the final fork clinked against the plate and the last coffee cup was washed, she would escape to her sanctuary, the kitchen, where her dusty old violin awaited. She would play, letting the music wash over her, carrying her back to the joyful days of her youth when her heart was light and dreams felt infinite. Each bow stroke pulled a smile from her lips and softened the tightness in her chest. In this bubble of melodies, she could almost believe that everything would be all right. But as autumn swept through Elmwood, change was in the air. A catering opportunity sparkled on the horizon, just when things with her son, Javier, began to crumble. The boy had turned into a whirlwind of teenage angst, feeling neglected as Maria put her all into her diner. Test scores dropped, and in their kitchen, words turned sharp. The bond that once felt unbreakable now hung by a thread. "You never have time for me anymore," Javier shouted one afternoon, eyes blazing with hurt, leaving Maria's heart shattered on the floor like a dropped plate. During the bustling Elmwood Harvest Festival, Maria felt the pulse of hope as she prepared to cater for the crowd. Thrumming with energy, she stepped onto the makeshift stage and lifted her violin, ready to share her secret passion. The bow caressed the strings, and the notes floated like birds through the chilly air. People swayed, entranced, as her music wove stories of love and perseverance. But just as the applause surged, a familiar argument broke out in the crowd, revealing old family rifts and hidden resentment. Maria's heart raced. The moment twisted into something beyond her control. The very next weekend, disaster struck. A simple kitchen mishap, a forgotten pot left to simmer too long, sent smoke billowing through the diner, and chaos unfolding among her staff. Whispers of the diner chef who ruined dinner snaked through town. Word spread, gossip became wildfire, and Maria's once respected establishment blinked under the harsh light of scrutiny. Just when she thought she could mend her relationship with Javier, while seizing her chance at a new beginning, her world tilted off its axis. Desperation clawed at her, intertwining with her dreams and overwhelming her with doubt. How could she rebuild trust with her son and restore the diner while facing the harsh judgments of the community? Was this the price of pursuing her dreams? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Maria faced this storm of chaos, one thought echoed in her mind. What truly mattered? Could harmony be restored within her family while she fought to reclaim her dreams? In the heat of conflict, she realized her music and her cooking were woven tightly with the love she carried for her children. Now, faced with the wreckage, she had to discover how much she was willing to sacrifice for the life she dreamed of, and whether it would all slip through her fingers like sand. If she didn't act fast, Maria woke up to the sharp smell of burnt toast and the echo of her own thoughts. The diner had been quiet, almost too quiet, as if it was holding its breath waiting for her next move. This morning, the air felt heavier than usual, a thick shroud of tension clouding her mind. She fumbled through her routine, pouring coffee into chipped mugs and flipping through stacks of bills that whispered anxieties she could barely confront. Behind the counter, Javier sat with his head bowed, eyes glued to his phone. The silence between them felt like a chasm, one she desperately wanted to bridge, but every time she opened her mouth to speak, the right words slipped away. He didn't even glance up when she dropped a plate of pancakes in front of him, an offering that should have sparked joy, but only resulted in a distracted grunt. She watched him, really watched him, and her heart sank deeper. The youthful spark that once lit up his face was fading. Guilt clawed at her. She knew she had poured every ounce of energy into her diner, leaving little room for the boy who needed her guidance the most. But could she bring him back to her, even as she tried to lift herself up? After the morning rush, Maria cleared the tables with a sense of urgency. She turned her attention to an empty corner of the diner. An old piano sat there, gathering dust. A sudden idea sparked in her mind, igniting a flicker of hope. What if she brought music back into their lives? Not just the music she played alone, but a way to invite Javier into her world, to show him her passion, her dreams, and in turn, reconnect the fabric of their lives. That night, she washed the dishes, humming a tune that had once brought her comfort. As she scrubbed away the remnants of dinner, she conjured up a plan. They would have a family music night, just the two of them, maybe even ask the neighbors to join. It might not fix the rifts instantly, but it could be a start. With newfound determination, Maria began to prepare. She spent a little extra time after work, cleaning off the piano, dusting the keys, and tuning it back into life. Each note crooned softly under her fingertips, a gentle whisper of encouragement. Would Javier join her? Would he remember the joy they once shared around music? The next day, Maria approached her son while he was awkwardly attempting to shove his homework into his backpack. "Javi, how about a music night?" Her voice was laced with hope. "You, me, our favorite songs. We could invite the neighbors too." He looked at her, confusion shadowing his features. "Music night? Seriously? We're not kids anymore. Maybe we can be kids again for a night," she said, a glimmer of laughter in her eyes. "Just us, the piano, a chance to reconnect." His gaze softened slightly, but he shrugged, a little unsure. "I don't know, Mom. Please," she pleaded, hoping this small moment of vulnerability could tip the scales. "Let us just try. For us." The silence hung between them. Everything felt like it was about to change, and with that uncertainty came a surge of excitement. Was this the moment that would draw them back together? As the day wore on and dusk painted the sky in hues of purple and gold, Maria set the piano bench. She took a breath, anticipation thrumming within her. Would Javier show up? Would music be the bridge they needed? The soft notes resonated in her heart, echoing her hope. Suddenly, the diner door creaked open, and Maria turned, heart racing. There he stood, illuminated by the glow of the streetlights, hands tucked into his pockets, uncertainty written across his face. Was he ready to embrace this new beginning? Would he take that step across the threshold, or would he let the past dictate their future? As the familiar harmony filled the air, Maria realized that the road ahead was still steep, but every note played might lead her one step closer to healing. Javier stood in the doorway, shadows dancing across his youthful features. Maria's heart pounded, every beat urging him to step inside. She let her fingers linger on the piano keys, a soft melody escaping. Each note wove around the tension, beckoning him closer. "Hey, come over," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He shifted, weighing his options. With hesitance, he stepped forward, the door creaking behind him. His hands dropped from his pockets, and for a moment, they both stood there, silently gauging the distance between them. It was like a live wire, pulsing with unspoken words. "What's this about, really?" he asked, still standing a safe distance from the piano. "It's about us. Remember how we used to have fun together? I thought we could try that again. Just us and music." She gestured to the inviting bench, the half-lit room echoing with memories of laughter and light-hearted jamming sessions. He squinted at the dusty piano, uncertainty lacing his voice. "I don't play anymore, Mom." A flicker of disappointment cut through her, but she quickly masked it with determination. "That's okay. You don't have to be perfect. Just play what's in your heart. I just want to share this moment with you." Slowly, Javier approached, his fingers brushing the piano's worn surface. Maria felt a rush of nostalgia. The last time he had played felt like a lifetime ago. As she watched him, an ache settled deep within. Would he truly join her? "Okay, let us give it a shot," he finally muttered, taking a seat on the bench. He looked unsure, like a hiker faced with a steep hill. With her heart racing, she started a simple tune, familiar and warm, something they had played together so many times before. Javier hesitated a moment, and then, almost timidly, he began to add in the notes. They clashed at first, a song without rhythm, but then slowly, it started to flow, unraveling under their fingertips. Their connection deepened as they lost themselves in the melody. Javier's tension melted away, revealing glimpses of the boy she had nurtured. Each note shed layers of distance between them. Laughter began to bubble up as they recalled songs, humming off-key yet joyful. The diner felt different now, the warm light casting shadows that felt like arms around them. Sights and sounds from the bustling kitchen behind them faded, and the world narrowed to just the two of them, wrapped in the embrace of their shared music. As the last chord lingered in the air, they exchanged glances that spoke volumes, words unneeded. A tentative smile broke across Javier's face, and for the first time in a long time, Maria felt that flicker of hope ignite. This was a step towards healing, tangible and real. But as the night deepened, uncertainties lingered in the air. What would this new beginning hold? Would they truly reclaim their bond? Or was it merely a fleeting moment, a note lost among the many? The door rattled slightly as a familiar figure strolled in, striking a match to the shadows of their small triumph. "Hey, what is going on in here?" Tony, one of the neighbors, called out. His presence felt sudden, like a splash of cold water. Maria's heart sank briefly. Would this new interruption derail everything they had just begun to rebuild? Javier looked uncertainly between his mother and the door, a shadow of fear creeping back onto his face. As the door swung wider and the night stood poised on the edge, Maria took a deep breath, uncertainty swirling in her gut. Would the vulnerability they had just shared slip away, or could it soldier on in the presence of new disruptions? The music had just begun to heal, but as the calming notes faded, one question loomed overhead. What would happen when the outside world intruded on their moment? Maria forced a smile, an effort that felt half-hearted against the weight of her anxiety. "Just playing some music, Tony. Come join us." Javier stiffened beside her, his earlier warmth dimming instantly. The easy spontaneity they had shared moments before was tangled now with doubt, as if Tony's arrival had pulled a harsh spotlight on their fragile reunion. Tony moved closer, a grin spreading across his face as he leaned against the doorframe, hands shoved deep in his pockets. "It's been a while since I heard you two jamming. You used to fill this place with laughter." His words hung like a fragile note in the air, filled with nostalgia that felt both comforting and crushing. Maria's heart felt heavy. She didn't want to remember how things used to be. She wanted to create something new, something pure, but it suddenly seemed harder with Tony watching. "Yeah, well, it's been a while," Javier replied, his voice cool. He looked over at Maria, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. The music had been their bridge, but now the laughter felt dangerously close to being extinguished. Silence fell, punctuated only by the sounds of the diner echoing behind them, the clank of dishes, the chatter of patrons. Maria's heart raced as she glanced back at the piano. The space between notes felt immense now, like a chasm threatening to swallow them both. "You should play more often," Tony said, leaning against the piano, the casualness of his stance contrasting sharply with the tension in the room. "You have a gift, you know. You and your mom together like that. It's beautiful." Javier shrugged, visibly uncomfortable. The compliment felt more like pressure to him, a reminder of the expectations he had tried to run from. "Hey, I get that you're busy," Tony added, trying to lighten the mood. "But a little bit of music never hurts. Just like a good meal, right? It brings people together." Maria's breath caught in her throat. A tight knot formed in her chest at the truth in his words. She wanted that. She wanted to bring people together again, to mend what had been broken. Javier shifted his weight, his expression a mix of defiance and uncertainty. "I just don't want to do this for show." Tony's gaze softened. "No one is asking you to. Just play for yourself and your mom. It doesn't have to be perfect." With a heavy sigh, Javier looked down at the keys, the pressure of the moment bearing down on him. Maria watched every subtle shift in him, her heart aching with the need to reach deeper, to pull him back into the joy they once shared. With a deep breath, she leaned in closer, her voice gentle, yet determined. "It's okay, Javier. I don't need perfection, just a piece of your heart." Something flickered in his eyes, a spark of recognition mingled with uncertainty. Could he really allow himself to be vulnerable again? Would he take that leap? Silence hung heavy, filled with a stillness that seemed to encompass everything they were too afraid to say. Finally, he nodded, albeit tentatively. There was a shift, a space between them that felt lighter, charged with possibility. He placed his fingers on the keys, hesitation still flickering through him. Then, slowly, he began to play a gentle practice of their earlier tune. The notes flowed anew, tentative yet promising. With the first few chords, the tension eased, and Maria found herself lost once more in the sound. A part of her dared to hope this moment could last. But outside the diner, storm clouds gathered, mirroring her uneasiness. Little did they know that as they grappled with their fragile bond, a storm was brewing that could alter everything. Would they be prepared when the tempest finally struck? Javier's fingers danced across the keys, tentative at first, but as the melody swelled, Maria felt the familiar warmth of their past seep back in. The notes drifted like whispers, wrapping around her heart, coaxing memories of laughter and midnight jam sessions to the surface. The diner faded from view, and for a moment, it felt just like old times. Tony leaned back, nodding steadily to the rhythm. There was something hopeful in his expression, a flicker of belief that maybe they could revive something beautiful. The warmth of the moment was tangible, but doubt still hung in the air, a thin veil, separating joy from the fear of what's next. Javier played on, but every chord felt heavy with unspoken words. Maria's heart raced. Knowing this moment was more than music, it was a fragile testament to everything they had lost and everything they might recover. Just as the music reached a crescendo, a loud crash broke through the melody. A figure stumbled through the diner door, drenched from the rain, shaking the water from their clothes. Maria's stomach dropped as she recognized the face. It was her brother, Leo. "Maria, you have to help me," he shouted, urgency lacing his voice as he approached. The joy that had begun to blossom between Maria and Javier was quickly smothered. Tony stepped aside, brows furrowing as he tried to gauge the situation. "What happened?" Maria asked, fear creeping into her mind. Leo's usual carefree demeanor was gone. His eyes were wide with panic. "They're coming for me. I didn't mean to, I swear. I was just," he gasped for breath, trying to steady his voice. "I thought I could handle it, but I need somewhere to hide." "What did you do?" Maria demanded. The restaurant, once a sanctuary, now felt claustrophobic. The weight of the world pressed down on her, the storm outside echoing the turmoil brewing just beneath the surface. Javier's fingers halted, the music dying off as the air thickened with tension. He turned to Maria, concern etched on his face. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The moment they had shared that flicker of hope was evaporating. "Leo, calm down. Just tell me what's going on," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside her. "I messed up with the wrong people, okay? I thought I was helping someone out, just delivering a package, but it was a whole lot more than I bargained for." His breaths came fast, panic painting his words. Maria felt a wild mix of disbelief and anger surge within her. How many times had they been through this? How many times had she pleaded with him to walk away? They'd barely just started to bridge their own gaps, and now Leo was forcing them back, pulling the seams of their fragile understanding apart. "Get out. Go while you still can." Javier's voice rose above the din of the diner. He was agitated, and Maria could see he felt cornered, but Leo shook his head defiantly. "They'll find me. I can't go home, not like this." Maria stood frozen, torn between protecting her brother and safeguarding the rare moment she had just begun to reclaim with Javier. This was everything she feared, the past crashing back in, wrecking what they were cautiously beginning to create. As thunder clapped and rain lashed against the windows, she faced Javier, searching his eyes for understanding. Would he stand by her brother? Would he give them a chance, a refuge from the storm? Or would he walk away? That quiet strength she saw in him began to waver, replaced by doubt once more. Outside, the skies darkened further, signaling more than just rain. It was as if fate itself was bearing down on them. "Javier," she whispered, but the question lingered unspoken. Could they weather this storm together, or would it shatter them once and for all? "Stop!" Maria shouted, the words slicing through the tension like a knife. Everyone froze, the air thick with uncertainty. Leo's frantic eyes darted between her and Javier, his desperation palpable. She took a step closer to her brother, feeling the weight of his fear and the horror of the situation settle in her chest. Just let me think. Maria held her hands up, trying to quell the storm brewing inside her. Leo might have made bad choices, but he was still her brother. The bond was persistent, woven with love and a lifetime of shared experiences. Javier shifted, his expression shifting to one of frustration. You need to face this. He can't stay here, Maria. If they're coming for him, it's only going to put us all in danger. Danger? Leo shot back, panic lacing his voice. You think I want this? I didn't choose this. All I wanted was he took a ragged breath, the fight leaving him. What did you want? Maria pressed, determination flooding her veins. What did you expect to gain from getting involved with those people? Leo's shoulders sagged, a tempest of emotions washing over him. I just wanted to feel like I mattered. I thought helping would finally mean something. His voice cracked as his defenses crumbled, revealing the boy she had always known beneath the bravado. Maria felt a sharp stab of hurt. She turned her gaze toward Javier. The corners of his lips tightened, and she could see him weighing his options. Leo, she started, her voice steadying. Whatever's going on, you can't hide here forever. You need to talk to someone who can help you. You think there's a way out of this? Leo's voice rose again, caught between anger and despair. They'll find me. They always do. I can't go back to you don't have to go home. Not like this, she interjected, her heart racing at the thought of old family resentments surfacing. There are other options. We can figure this out together. Javier shifted again, a sense of urgency simmering beneath his surface. Maria, we can't get dragged into this. If something happens, stop. Both of you. Maria felt the pressure of their fears rising around her like thunderclouds ready to burst. She took a slow, deep breath, attempting to calm the whirlwind swirling in her mind. We have to decide, and we have to do it now. The atmosphere crackled with anxiety, and a wave of rain rapped against the windows. Maria glanced at Javier, searching for the man she once knew. Would he stand by her side or step back into the shadows of uncertainty? Maria, Leo pleaded, his voice a whisper now. Please, I don't want to end up like Dad, I can't. The mention of their father hung heavily in the air. It was a wound that never quite healed, a silent bond that tethered them together. Maria's heart ached at the thought of where this all could lead, how many times they had to navigate the same dark waters. Leo, look at me, she said firmly, locking eyes with him, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about us, our family. We need to rise above this. Javier watched silently, his presence a solid anchor in the storm. But a part of him felt adrift. He didn't know what to say, or even how to begin. All he knew was that he wanted to protect Maria and her brother, even as shadows loomed on the horizon. Maybe we can find a way out, he ventured, surprising both of them with the strength held in his voice. But it's going to take all of us. The weight of the storm outside seemed to seep into the diner, mingling with the unsteady hope that they could turn this moment around. Maria's heart pounded in her chest. Could they really do this together? Just as they began to grasp that hope, the door of the diner swung open once more. A chill swept through, but it wasn't the cold wind that sent a shiver down their spines. A group of men in dark jackets stepped inside, their faces obscured by shadow and purpose. Leo's eyes widened in pure terror. They found me, then everything shifted. The moment of truth had arrived, and choices would matter more than ever. Would they stand together, or would fear tear them apart? Maria's heart raced as the men in dark jackets strode into the diner, their presence suffocating the room. The atmosphere was electric with fear and uncertainty, like a coiled spring ready to snap. Leo's face paled, his face a portrait of dread. She could see every muscle in his body tense up, instincts screaming for him to run. Stay calm, she urged, her voice trembling just enough to betray her own fear. She stepped in front of Leo, instinctively shielding him. The memories of their father flooded her mind again, the times he had protected them, both emotionally and physically. She couldn't let history repeat itself. Not now. Javier moved closer, eyes fixed on the newcomers. His jaw was set, determination etched in every line of his face. What do they want? He whispered, barely audible over the sudden hush in the diner. Whatever you do, don't provoke them, Maria warned, recognizing the tension that had escalated with their entrance. The men exuded a sense of authority as they scanned the diner, their gaze lingering on Leo. It was clear they hadn't come for idle conversation. One of the men stepped forward, a sharp-faced man with icy blue eyes that seemed to pierce right through her. "We're not here to play games," he said, his voice smooth but menacing. "We know where he is." As if the air had thickened, Maria felt suffocated by dread. "You need to leave," she said, clenching her fists, channeling all her courage into her words. "You can't just barge in here and threaten us." The man's gaze shifted to her, a slight smirk curling at the edge of his lips. "And what if we don't?" He took another step closer, and Maria noticed the way he moved, confident, purposeful, as if he held all the cards. She glanced nervously at Leo, who stood frozen, his eyes wide with panic. "Maria," he murmured, fear wrapping around him like a shroud. "Listen, let us talk about this," Javier said, stepping forward as well, trying to assert some control over the chaos. "You don't need to do this. We can work something out." His voice was steady, but Maria could see the fear creeping in. The men were poised, ready to strike, and she felt the balance of power tipping dangerously. "Enough!" The sharp-faced man snapped, raising a hand. The room fell silent. "We can either do this the hard way or the easy way. But make no mistake, we will take him." Tension crackled like static electricity. Maria could feel the fragile thread of hope begin to unravel. What were they even fighting for anymore? Fear gripped her heart, and her thoughts spiraled. She felt Leo's hand clutch her arm, a lifeline amidst the storm. "Don't let them take me," he pleaded, his voice trembling. "Please, Maria." Fighting against the rising tide of panic, she looked from Leo to Javier, determination flooding her senses. "We're not going to let them take you," she declared, her voice strong enough to pierce through the engulfing darkness. But could they really stand against these men? A flicker of doubt threatened to extinguish her newfound strength. As the tension peaked, her mind flashed with an image, a plan forming in the depths of her thoughts. It was reckless, possibly foolish, but in that moment, she knew they had to try something, anything. "Javier," she whispered urgently, "we need a distraction. Can you handle it?" With a nod, his eyes glinted with resolve. "Just give me the signal." Outside, the rain beat down harder against the diner windows, filling the air with a rhythmic pounding that mirrored her racing heart. Time felt fluid, stretching out in each second as she inhaled deeply, ready to launch her desperate gamble. "On three," Maria said, her voice barely a whisper now. But before she could finish, the door slammed open again, catching everyone off guard. A figure stood silhouetted against the storm, a flash of familiarity igniting hope. "Maria? Leo? Get down." As the shout echoed through the diner, Maria suddenly realized the stakes had risen even higher. Her heart stopped as she recognized the figure creeping through the door. Who was that? She wondered, fear washing over her as she braced for the unknown. Would this newcomer be a friend or another threat? The figure stepped closer, rain glistening on their dark jacket, the sound of water dripping like an anxious heartbeat. Maria squinted through the dim light, her chest tightening as they emerged from the shadows. To her surprise, it was Mia, the chef from the diner, who had been almost like a mentor to her. The way Mia carried herself, determined, unwavering, gave her a flicker of hope. "Out of the way," Mia shouted again, urgency in her voice. Without hesitation, she rushed toward Maria and Leo, sliding in front of them like a protective shield. The tension in the diner escalated, everyone on high alert, drawn like moths to the sudden rush of light. "What are you doing here?" Maria managed to breathe out, still trying to process Mia's presence. The world felt too chaotic to comprehend even the smallest details. "This isn't the time for questions," Mia retorted sharply, eyes darting to the men in dark jackets. "We have to move. They're after you, Leo, and we can't let them take you." Leo looked back at Maria, apprehension etched across his face, but now with a hint of determination. "Can we trust her?" he whispered. "More than anyone else right now," she replied, turning to Mia, desperately needing reassurance. "What do we do?" Mia's brow furrowed, weighing options, her mind racing. "I have a plan, but it's risky. I need both of you to trust me completely." Before Maria could respond, the sharp-faced man stepped forward, his demeanor slithering into malice. "Enough of this. Time to surrender. How about I make your choice for you?" The atmosphere thickened with dread, but Mia stood her ground, fists clenched at her sides. "You touch them, and you'll regret it," she shot back, the fire in her voice breaking through the heavy tension. Maria could feel their hopes dangling on a fragile thread, their fate teetering. "I'll do whatever it takes," she said, drawing strength from Mia's unyielding courage. With a nod of understanding, Mia gestured for them to follow her to the back of the diner. "There's a way out through the kitchen," she said, urgency tapering her words. "But we have to move now." They darted past tables, the eyes of the diners wide with disbelief, mouths agape. Each step surged adrenaline through Maria's veins, propelling her forward. But just as they were nearing the kitchen door, an ear-splitting shout erupted from the sharp-faced man. "Stop!" Time slowed, Maria's heart pounding like a runaway train. She felt Leo's hand grasp hers, but it was Mia who surged ahead, a whirlwind of resolve and instinct. The moment hung precariously, like an unsteady balance beam, and Maria could see the danger closing in. "Run!" Mia bellowed, pushing them through the door just as the heavy footfalls rushed toward them. The kitchen smelled of grease and warmth, but there was little comfort in that moment. Maria's pulse raced as she followed Mia to the back door, urgency driving her forward. "We can't leave without finding out what they want," she cried, caught by instinct to protect her brother. Mia turned, her expression hardening. "Getting out is our only option right now. We'll figure that out later." The men burst into the kitchen, shouts and chaos puncturing the air. The kitchen was a blur, a whirlwind of activity as pots clanged and knives shimmered. "Keep moving," Mia shouted, pushing them toward a hidden exit. Maria stole a glance back, seeing Leo's face pale under the overhead lights, and she felt a pang in her heart. Beyond the door lay freedom and uncertainty. Would they escape? Or would the danger follow them into the night? Just as they stepped outside, the rain pounded down relentlessly, washing away the weight of fear but forging new challenges ahead. As they ran into the storm, Maria's mind whirled. What if the threat wasn't just the men chasing them, but something much darker that connected them all? With questions brewing like a raging storm inside her, she clung to Leo and Mia, unsure of where the night would lead them. But one thing was certain: their fight was far from over. "Where do we go from here?" she gasped, breathless against the downpour. And in that moment, she realized this wasn't just about survival. It was about uncovering truths they hadn't even begun to face. What had they stumbled into? Mia pulled Maria and Leo through the rain-soaked streets, their shoes sloshing in the puddles that formed under every step. The din of the diner faded behind them, swallowed by the night and the thundering storm. Maria's breath came in ragged bursts, a mixture of fear and exhilaration as adrenaline surged through her veins. She could feel the weight of her brother's hand tightly gripping hers, a lifeline in the chaos. "Stay close," Mia shouted over the roar of the rain, her voice steady despite the panic that hung around them. "I know a place." "What place?" Leo asked, his voice laced with worry. "A friend's house, not far from here." "It'll be safer," Mia replied, darting down an alley that seemed to narrow with every passing second. The alley was dark, the only light coming from flickering street lamps, casting shadows that danced like specters. Maria felt a shiver crawl down her spine, a sense of something lurking just out of sight. She shook her head, trying to dispel the unnerving thoughts. The goal was to move, to escape. As they reached the end of the alley, a faint glow beckoned from the window of a modest home. Through the rain, Maria could make out a figure silhouetted against the light, uncertain whether it was hope or another danger. Mia reached the door first, knocking frantically. "Open up. It's Mia," she shouted, urgency threading through her words. The door swung open, revealing a middle-aged woman with tousled hair and worried brown eyes. "Mia, what is going on?" she gasped, stepping aside to let them in. They flooded into the small living room, the warm air wrapping around them like a blanket. The woman quickly closed the door, bolting it behind them. "You two are soaking wet. What happened?" "Not now, Clara," Mia snapped, her voice heavy with tension. "We need to hide. There are people after us." "People? What do you mean?" Clara looked at the siblings with concern, but Mia's intensity brooked no questions. "Just make sure the curtains are closed," Mia instructed, her eyes darting back toward the door. As Clara moved to comply, Maria watched Mia pace, her brow furrowed deep in thought. Mia, you know what this is about, don't you? Maria asked, fear bubbling in her chest. What did you get us into? I can't explain everything now, Mia replied, pinching the bridge of her nose, clearly overwhelmed. But it's bad, Maria. Trust me. Tell us what you know. Leo pressed, stepping forward, his face drawn tight. Please. We need to understand what is happening. Mia paused, glancing at Clara, who had returned with a grim look in her eye. Your brother he's involved in something dangerous, but we have to keep moving. I swear I'll explain, but we have to keep your heads low, she said, her voice turning low but intense. There's a reason they want Leo. His eyes went wide. Why me? Because your future is entwined with something they want to control. Something that could turn this whole town upside down, Mia replied, and Maria felt her heart race at the realization that they were no longer just running, they were running from an unstoppable tide. Clara's brows knitted together, her expression shifting from confusion to concern. What does that mean? She asked softly. Just like my cooking. Everything connects in an unseen way, Mia said, seeming to reach for a glimmer of hope in an otherwise grim situation. But Maria's mind was stubbornly focused on the short term. How long do we stay here? What is the next move? We have to wait until the storm calms, Mia murmured, her gaze flat but resolute. Then we'll figure out how to surface. As the three of them huddled together, Maria felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down like a suffocating blanket. What had they landed in? And would they emerge from it? Just then, a loud bang echoed outside. Clara's face blanched as they all jumped at the sudden noise. They're here, Mia breathed, urgency spilling over once more. Before Maria could respond, the shadows shifted around them, and she readied herself for what was to come, knowing they would have to confront whatever fate had in store. Stay close, Mia ordered again, but fear tangled with Maria's courage. Would they escape the chaos, or were they about to plunge deeper? The storm raged outside, mirroring the turmoil now raging within the small home where Maria, Leo, and Mia took refuge. The unexpected turn of events tightened the atmosphere, the air thick with dread and uncertainty. Maria's heart raced as she glanced at Leo, his eyes wide with confusion and fear, reflecting her own inner chaos. Stay behind me, Mia barked, positioning herself protectively in front of the siblings. Her voice held an authority cultivated in kitchens and chaotic moments alike, a certainty that felt rare in the growing darkness outside. Clara stood silently, eyes darting to the door, her worry palpable, as if she sensed the impending storm wasn't just the rain, but something much more sinister. The pounding on the door echoed like a war drum, thumping with urgency. Maria held her breath, an instinct to protect her brother overwhelming her fear. What do we do? She whispered, desperation seeping into her words. The grip of panic was all-consuming, each moment dragging on like a heavy weight. Mia's eyes flickered, a thought igniting the fire of resolve within. Clara, can you lead them away? Buy us time? Clara nodded, her brow furrowed deeply. I'll do whatever it takes, she replied, drawing strength from the intensity of the moment. She stepped away from the group, her shaky hands on the doorknob, ready to confront the intruders. No. Maria's voice erupted with instinctive urgency. You can't. But Mia shook her head, stepping closer to Clara. Trust me, she'll be fine. We need to stay hidden. With a swift nod from Clara, she opened the door, a rush of wind and rain invading the warmth of the room. What do you want? She shouted into the night, trying to summon every ounce of strength to deter the looming threat. Maria felt a tug in her gut as she watched Clara bravely step into the storm. The door still ajar, just enough for the figure standing outside to loom large and ominous. She turned to Mia, raw fear bursting forth. We can't leave her. No, we can't, Mia replied fiercely, but we also can't get caught. We have to trust Clara to distract them. Yet doubt gnawed at her insides as the shadows lengthened. Maria glanced at Leo, who remained frozen, fear written across his features. The tension in the air seemed to thrum with an electric pulse, urging them toward action, toward survival. Outside, Clara's voice trembled as she engaged the men, the conversation rising and falling like the storm around them. I don't care what you want. You need to leave my friends out of this. The harsh laugh of a man echoed, filled with malice. You're in over your head, lady, he sneered. Mia turned to Maria and Leo, eyes bright with determination. Now, while they're distracted, in a breathless rush, they crept through the narrow hallway at the back of the house, hearts pounding as they tiptoed across the floor, tangible fear fueling their movements. With every step, Maria felt the chasm of uncertainty close in around them, swallowing their opportunity for safety with each breath. As they reached the kitchen, Mia pushed the back door open just as the door in the front was slammed shut, Clara's voice raising in alarm. "Run!" Without thinking, they burst out into the torrential rain, the world outside a whirlwind of frenzied chaos. The droplets hammered down on them, mixing with the adrenaline surging through their veins. "Where do we go?" Maria shouted, her voice barely audible over the crashing thunder and howling wind. "Just keep moving," Mia replied, leading the charge into the alley. The shadows were thick, but they were alive, pulsing with the intensity of their flight toward freedom. Maria took Leo's hand, holding on as tightly as she could, their connection a lifeline amidst the chaos. They raced through the puddles that formed alongside the street, each splash a reminder of the urgency that wrapped around them. As they rounded a corner, ahead lay a small hatchback parked against the curb. "That's my car," Mia shouted, pushing them forward. They jumped inside, heartbeats racing, the rain washing away remnants of fear with every drop. Mia slammed the door shut and fumbled with the keys, her hands shaking. With a roar, the engine came to life, and they lurched into the storm, leaving the chaos behind, for now. "Did we lose them?" Leo panted, glancing back, concern clouding his features. "I don't know," Mia replied, her grip tightening on the wheel as the headlights illuminated the road ahead. A fleeting light in an enveloping darkness, they drove further from the unwelcome chaos. Maria stole a glance at Leo. His face was pale, but there was a newfound resolve building within him, separate from the fears that had once consumed him. She squeezed his hand, silently promising to fight for their family, for their future, no matter the cost. "Where are we going?" Leo asked, voice tinged with hope and vulnerability. "Somewhere safe," Mia answered, the conviction in her voice unwavering. "We'll figure things out together. You're not alone anymore, Leo. We're family." Maria felt a glimmer of hope shoot through her like lightning in the clear night sky above, igniting something deep within. They weren't just escaping anymore. They were stepping into a new beginning. With this new chapter unfolding, she was ready to face whatever may challenge them, because together, they were stronger. And just like that, against the odds, they knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something beautiful, bound together by love, courage, and the fierce desire to reclaim their lives from the shadows. As the rain began to lighten and dawn broke on the horizon, Maria took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next. They had been through the storm. Now they had to learn how to dance in the light. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every click makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters. Let us keep this journey alive together.